There we go.
This meeting is being recorded. I don't know why it stopped doing that, but I liked it. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our last community of practice meeting for Co-requisite. It's the last one of this year. I think in the reminder I sent, I didn't qualify that, so I apologize if you were thinking this is the last one ever. It is not, because we are going to kick off things in January with a bang with our convening, and I will share that information with you in just a minute. But let me go ahead and get my slides set up right here so I can transition smoothly from one thing to another. Okay. There we go. Hey, hope everybody can still see that.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have an open door policy, which means that there are a number, could be a number of faculty and staff who join us, and either for the first time, or maybe they haven't been in a while. And so I like to put the information up as it relates to the purpose and the vision of KYSSC, as well as remind everybody how this was formed from a work group. And so, but Kentucky Student Success Collaborative is 2 years old. We are celebrating our 2 years, going into year 3. I am Phyllis Clark, and I serve as the convener of all things. I was about to say guided pathways, but that's not it. It's the Gateway Course Success and all the strategy and things surrounding that. But the purpose and the vision of the collaborative, as you can see, is number one, to accelerate that transformational change throughout the collaboration, through collaboration on strategic student success priorities. I think everyone who is aware of the collaborative understands that is why we were formed. And the charge for our work is really to facilitate collaboration, meetings such as this, innovation and impact through our stakeholder engagement, design thinking, and improvement science. And of course, we talk about equity in terms of being a cross-cutting priority around all the projects that have been coming out of the collaborative. And then lastly, our vision, which I probably should have mentioned first, is that, higher ed leads to social impact. We all know this, and the better that we can convene around all of these hot topics, maybe the faster, and the deeper learning that we'll have from each other, with regard to the way that we move our Commonwealth forward and take care of our students in the process. And so I am glad to be serving in this space with you all. And let me just continue to share an agenda. Oh, agenda, not yet. Maybe that's the next one. But this is just a little bit more about the work of the collaborative in terms of the framework and the priorities. So the first one, it's the first three, really. The last one is ultimately what we're all trying to get to, but that is a separate section that's being led by someone outside of the collaborative. We're like sister partners in this work. So the transfer success, the Gateway course success, and of course all the work that was done on the very front end around student basic needs, which is filtering down into a lot of the mental health work and communities of practice that's being built for that. The complete the path is around the 10 essential skills. And I think a lot of you all already are aware of Dr. Jana Weiss, who leads that effort. Okay, thanks. Stephanie, if you can let Stephanie in, I think I see a note.
I've got it.
Got her? Okay, great. All right, well, here's the agenda. Short and sweet. We only have a few slides because we're going to switch over to a Jamboard, and the faculty fellows are going to help us get some ideas generated around what our next bite of work is going to be. So we're going to do a quick check-in, and then we're going to move into the discussion. I did want to highlight our faculty fellows. I think some of you know them. But John Hall from GCTC and Stephanie Tolliver Hyman from South Central and Kasha, who's taking care of the door right now from Bluegrass. And Frank Robinson will be in another 10 minutes or so. He's finishing up something big up there at Northern. And Dr. Ed Tommy from Murray. Okay, and I think everybody's on. Thank you all for helping to lead the conversation today. All right, something that I really never do. Why is that blinking like that? I don't know what that is. Maybe it's to grab your attention. But the next two slides are really announcement type slides. So feel free to take a screenshot, screen grab, whatever you want. You're certainly going to see it in an email or something, something else coming up that you might be a part of. But we're having an in-person convening at the end of January, and that'll be at the CPE offices. Some of you may have already received an invitation. If you haven't, just email me and I can take care of you. In fact, while our faculty fellows are taking
We can't answer the door right now, but if you'd like to.
Oh, I thought that was a joke. Okay. What was I saying? That I was going to put, if I'm good, I can put the link in the chat for the registration in case you want to pick that up. Okay, that was so funny. Oh my gosh, technology. All right, here's the next thing I wanted you to screen grab really quickly, or just wait for another reminder. I'm sure there's something percolating. But the Student Success Summit is happening at Western in 2024. Our theme is partnerships that work. And you all, I say this, I think every group I get on, but I've already seen the featured speakers and the regional speakers. It is going to be, can I just say it's going to be lit? Okay, I'm sorry. I think I just heard okay, she's snickering at me. My daughter just heard me say that. And well, I'm very serious. It is going to be lit. Y'all are going to love the folks we're bringing in this year. All right, let's keep it moving. Okay, this blinking is something that I don't know where it's coming from. But anyway, so I just continue to put this reminder here around Gateway Course Success so we can all be on the same page with what we're talking about through the collaborative and how we want to think about it. But specifically, we are talking about the first year English and math. And we know that there are a ton of other foundational courses that we could be focused on in addition to these. But right now, our starting point is with math and English. I did not put the statistical slides up to show you what the data is looking like, but we've talked about that before, and I think we've shared it. But if anybody is wanting to look at that data, I will put it in our portal on the Impact Exchange, or I can just send it straight to you if you're wondering about it. All right. Is this where I get to turn over? Well, I think what I can go ahead and do is to give some brief background for those of you all who are not aware that we started down the Gateway Course Success Strategic planning and just thinking about what the priorities and things would look like last June, when about 40 or 50 of you all came to CPE just to come together to think about what the next move could be, what your perspective and your feedback, your lived experiences as faculty and staff and administrators with what's happening on your campus for Gateway courses. And the three objectives after maybe 8 or 9, probably 10 stakeholder meetings beyond that June meeting is what has come up for us. And we're going to switch over to the Jamboard in just a minute and talk about the strategies, and I will turn it over. Okay. Kasha, I think I need a little bit of help here. Can you speak to these three? I hope I'm not getting the lineup wrong. Forgive me if I am, but are you okay to speak quickly to those three objectives while I pull something else.
Yeah, these are the three big broad objectives that has pretty much driven the work um, of this group and the whole Gateway Core Success initiative. These are still being tweaked a little bit, so if you have feedback on these, feel free to share. But I'll briefly just kind of go over them. The first one's focus is communication and collaboration. And I think that's one thing that the Student Success Collaborative has really been stressing. And one opportunity for these community of practices is to be able to allow communication and collaboration across all the higher ed institutions in the state and allow us an opportunity to have conversations and figure out what's in common and find and develop and talk about different strategies to combat some of these issues. So that is the first one revolves around. The second big objective revolves around centering students' needs. I think everybody understands about wraparound services and how we can do everything from the faculty and the staff end to how the institutions are structured and all the different approaches we can take collectively to help address students' needs, especially to help them improve success in their gateway courses. Because like we all have known, they can get past that first semester successfully, they have a much better shot at continuing successfully. And then finally, removing barriers. So this is where that mental health access and additional wraparound services come in. So if you think of the second one being more on the academic end, and then the third one being more on the wraparound end, that's kind of how I keep them straight.
Yes, yes, thank you for that. And I did not get off like I thought I did. But before we move a little bit deeper into this, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'd like for Ed, if you can maybe kind of, I know you had a couple of guiding questions to kind of get us started with,
Yes.
In terms of what's been happening on our campuses and how we, feel about those things from the last meeting or just this term now that we're kind of at the end of the first semester. I'd like to turn it over to you real fast.
Sure. Now you're about ready to view my major teaching flaw. That is, as a mathematician, I have a hard time not giving a big picture or leaving something out. Anyway, the way I was thinking of it, we have 6 major areas, perhaps more. Be thankful I didn't think of more. The instructional design of the courses themselves, the teaching methods employed, the students' preparedness and ways we might try to assist in that, the students' mental health and other needs and the way we might try to help with those, performance gaps between student groups and how we might work on those, and students' capability to invest and methods to assist in those. And so we were going to try to answer the following 3 questions. What's working on your campus in those categories? And then which did you wish worked better or not working hardly at all? And then in sub answers to those, are there plans you would like to implement to help them work better that we can perhaps as a group help with? Or are there plans that you'd like to implement that you're not sure anybody can help with, but they're just ideas that you have in your head? Well, I have to be exhaustive. You've learned all about me now. I have no more secrets. So anyway, what do you think is working on your campus and whatever those 6 you can remember? I'll try to send them to the group, I guess.
You can put them in chat.
What do you think is working on your campus?
There you go. Let's get this. Maybe you should start with what isn't working. We'll work our way up to what is working.
That may be a good idea because those are going to fly off the top of your head that this I want to work on, this, that I want to work on. And the assumption can be the other ones are kind of off the radar now because we want to work on these.
Stephanie was gonna.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in and share something great from my campus. Of course, I'm always wanting to brag on my superstar faculty here at Sky CTC in Bowling Green. Our data is rolling in for our English 101 courses, and our QEP here is a writing improvement focused QEP. So I've been waiting on that data as my Christmas present. And the faculty worked extremely hard last spring to align curriculum between the Gateway course and the Co-requisite. And this year they have implemented that curriculum. And as the pre and post tests are rolling in, right now the average improvement per student is 12.5%, and that is huge. I don't have all the final course data in because the faculty are still grading, but two of our sections of 12 that we are tracking in our QEP, one had an 81% success rate and one had 75. That's higher than our Sky CTC College Ready average from last year, and it's also higher than the KCTCS average. So I believe when you have a strong, small, mighty team who comes together to implement these strategies that Ed is talking about, you know, we looked at curriculum, we looked at the design of the courses, we looked at the teaching methods, we went to much more active learning in that, we went to much more in-class writing, and really were intrusive with embedded tutoring and putting that in the students' faces and forcing them to connect with services that were ultimately going to be helpful for them. We're seeing the proof in the pudding. So I have always said in my experience leading co-requisite in Kentucky and in other states where I've worked, when you mix all the things together in a bowl, they do have good results. But it's like Ed's got 6 things there. You have to do all of them. You can't just pick one. It won't be enough. You have to hit several. But I'm super proud of my faculty and their work, and we're seeing it in the student results. And man, we just want to watch them walk across the stage. Like, that's why we're all here.
That sounds awesome.
Don't hesitate to use reactions too.
Well, I can report from the College Algebra Success Project, even though we may not have seen a large impact on success as far as strategies, the peer outreach did have impact on persistence. It had mild impact on success, but not necessarily statistically significant. But on persistence, it did. So that engagement with the students, maybe it was convincing them that they needed to withdraw instead of getting an E, but that they were going to meet with their advisor and still enroll in the next semester. So we were pleased to hear about that. We were also pleased about kind of getting some statistical reinforcement that the first 10 days is vital for engaging with students that are starting to disengage. So you have about a week. If you can get to them, just outreach. Like, they don't even have to respond to you. But if you can get a hold of them in one way or another, those first 10 days are vital, because after the 10 days, their rate of re-engagement just falls tremendously. So 2 just important and I think valuable, mostly dealing with the peer outreach. It does have benefits, but I believe Stephanie really hit the nail on the head. It's not just the one thing or the other, or the one thing. You really have to take this all-encompassing approach to have a significant impact. So we know all the little pieces that'll move the needle a little bit. So it's how do we get all of those pieces together to have a significant impact? Anybody else? Ed, you going to take us on the other end now?
So what where would you like to focus your attention next? What do you think really needs, what would you really wish to fix on your campus the most?
Mm. Erica, Jeff.
There's a couple of things going on in the chat that we need to pay attention to, and I'll just read the first thing I've grabbed. You see that advising is a struggle.
Advising.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is from Braden and JCTC. And let's see. It's coming in now. I can't read it. Okay. Oh, Jeff at U of L is saying tuition revenue, goes to ANS and central administration, not us.
What's A&S?
Oh, I'm sorry, arts and sciences.
Oh, versus us. Who's us?
Our learning center, we're the ones who facilitate the intervention courses. So for example, with math and reading, we develop the curriculum. Our staff are, in a sense, faculty. They teach the classes, but the revenue that we produce and accounting for both in-state and out-of-state tuition differences, last year was literally a few dollars shy of 4 million. This year, we anticipate it's going to be 4.3 million, and we get none of it. So when there are enrollment increases, we're always begging like paupers for funding so that we can have enough instructors to teach. But it tends to be a knee-jerk reaction. So we're working with the provost's office to try and prevent that for the future. But we shouldn't have to keep doing this. It's just one of those things. And they know that. It's just structured differently because the funding model is predicated on giving the home unit, in this case, arts and sciences, where our curriculum is based, those funds, 70% of the dollars, 30% stay in central administration coffers. It's just the way that U of L has done it. So yeah, there you go.
I understand the struggles, not to the same extent, because we're just getting started on that separating out from the areas. So we pulled out the college success course. And so it's sitting in limbo in my area, and it has like no structure in the structure of the institution yet. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, Jeff, if I can just add, or maybe go left for just 1 second, because it makes me think about how we the ethic of care, that you utilize with not just yourself, but with your team. Is there anything that comes to mind in terms of how you all take care of yourselves in terms of, just wrestling with stuff like that? It's not like it's going to change next year either. So how do you, make ends meet in your own mind and reconcile?
Do you want the PC answer, or do you want me to answer it honestly and realistically?
Tell us the quiet part. Oh, wait, this is
We
being
burn our
recorded.
staff out. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Everybody pitches in and we cover those extra classes. I force the administration to give us XPay dollars so we can pay them to take on an additional course, but it's a pain in the ass. We should never have to do that in the first place. It should be a matter of right-sizing instruction, whether it's us or any other component of the university, right? You put those dollars where they're most needed, not because it's been tradition. And higher ed has a horrible history of not doing that because we can't decide if we're educationally focused or if we're a business or if we're a combination, right? So, it's age-old debate.
Yeah, it is nowadays.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about.
Oh, and delete the recording, please, because I didn't say any of this. You never.
No, you didn't say any of it.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
I was wondering if Brandon could talk a little bit more about the struggles with advising, because I think that's one of the strategies that we're hoping to look at. Just don't have enough full-time advisors.
Familiar song.
The faculty have to help out. Is the intention to have central advising? Okay.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
that's not going in the recording. I'm not going to repeat that. but I sympathize with that. Which I know we don't have like tons of institutions represented here, but which have centralized advising, as in there's like a group of staff that's supposed to do all the advising. And does anyone have that?
Not at MCTC. Faculty does advising.
Faculty, yeah. So we have faculty do advising as well as a central office. It's just all over the place.
For
We're-
you,
we're-
go ahead.
Go ahead, Erica. It's all you.
So to say for UK, at least, I don't remember if this is university-wide or just A&S, but we used to have professional advisors for the first couple of years and then faculty advisors when they were finishing. And now they're phasing that out and having it professional advisors all the time. And they wanted some kind of new mentoring program for the faculty to lead. And it's very confusing how we're going to implement that. It's really not clear at all. It also doesn't help that they fired the people who were in charge of advising and now they're trying to hire new ones and they lost their staff member, but otherwise it's all fine.
That sounds fantastic. Because Sky, I think Sky and us are about the same. As students walk in the door, that first semester, they go to our staff advisors. And after that, they get assigned to staff or they get assigned advisors, whether that's a staff or a faculty member. Yeah, same kind of concept. Yeah. This one, Brandon says after their first year, that's what they do. Finding advisors, finding anybody right now is still difficult. I think we still have a employment crisis of sorts. At least we do. I don't know if you all do. We're competing with a lot of other people who pay more than we do. UK including.
We were struggling with hiring for a little while. It's starting to get a little better, but there was definitely about a year and a half where it was tough.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff going on at U of L, it looks like.
There's nothing to see here.
We have problems because some of our initiatives require first-time freshmen. A lot of our initiatives are for first-time freshmen, whether it's our pathway cohorts, our guided pathways, our co-requisites. A lot of these initiatives rely on staff advisors directing students appropriately to these different courses and initiatives and programs and pilots. But getting anyone to change their habits, to change their personal scripts, to keep up with changes, and then having turnover in the area on top of it is very difficult. So it's challenging for us on the student success end because we have projects, we have initiatives, we have things we are trying to do. But if we can't get the students enrolled in the sections, enrolled in the classes, then all our efforts are just falling on deaf ears. So that's the struggle we have, is the disconnect. And I don't know how to resolve. It usually resolves itself after about 3 years, because then all the advisors know what's going on, you know, about the new project or the new initiative, and then you're ready to move on to the next one. And it's just a never ending battle, but that's what we struggle with.
Well, I think most of the time we think of advising as an assistive mechanism, and more because of changes in the students and their challenges, it needs to be an intrusive thing where the advisor has to be directly following them. And then it becomes really having enough people and enough time to do it. So that is exponentially increasing the time it would take to do, I think, what the job that is what is now necessary.
That's a good point.
Students are more likely, well, the ones we lose, I guess I could say, they're still wonderfully prepared, wonderfully engaged. Students who come in and they tell me what they're going to take. I get all the new advisees every year, and so I hand them off to people. One came in and told me she wouldn't be handed off. So there are ones who tell me what to do, but there are an increasing number who just ghost any attempt to help. And I don't know what to do about that. I don't know. Probably Frank has a better idea because of what he does.
Yeah,
do.
you know, it's funny you mentioned that because one of the things that we've been trying to push harder with students coming in is the concept and messaging of not being afraid to ask for help. Because a lot of times we have a natural human tendency to feel like we can deal with students, especially feel like we can deal with our own challenges and problems that are going on outside of the classroom. And because I think there's just an intrinsic, you know, I can deal with this problem, but oftentimes what I find is that students will wait way too long to the last minute to come forward with those problems. And then by then it's like we're in reactive mode as opposed to preemptive. We can do some things, strategies to address this in the early end. So we've been very proactive about trying to push, like, repeat it, try to send it home as much as we can. Like don't be the student that waits till the last minute. Like as soon as you start encountering a problem, reach out for assistance from someone, right? A faculty member, an advisor, even if it's a fellow student, like who's the upper class, like just someone, and don't be silent and don't be trying to, you know, don't try to take it on your own. And so we've had some success with that, but every semester I still have, you know, because I deal personally with a lot of the students in real serious academic distress. And 9 out of 10 cases, if they had come a little sooner to someone, we could have done some action earlier, whether it's a late withdrawal, whether it's getting them in touch with resources, whether it's counseling, whether it's whatever service. So I've just been thinking, well, how do we, is it high school we need to start sending this message? Is it orientation? Is it, you know, where do we try to change the culture or mindset of not, you know, because a lot of times when they're paying the tuition for these campuses, they're paying for these services that sometimes they don't know about. And sometimes they don't even know what services they get out of the tuition. So how do we just make it kind of raise the awareness of that and raise the you know, address the stigma of asking for help? So anyway, I'll stop, but that's those are my thoughts on that.
Do you all require a first year course, introduction to college course, college success course, anything along those lines?
We don't require it, but we I would say that 90% of the students take some sort of first year seminar course. Our problem is also that we have too many different first year seminar courses. We have University 101, but business has their own, College of Informatics has their own, health has their own. So and there's some common core things that are there, but it's just tricky because it's not, you know, it's not everyone's having that experience. But I would say a lot of our exploratory students, we are very intentional about making it a priority for that group. But outside of that, it's and because students are coming in with dual credit, you got parents now that are also saying, hey, you know, my son or daughter is so far along, they don't need this course. So there's a lot of challenges there, but I think you know, I'm curious if others have it mandated, because I think it's interesting.
We just rewrote the exemption policy because we were having a few too many coming in saying they didn't need it, and yet not having any demonstrable success at the institution. You know, it's like, oh, well, I transferred in 30 hours. I don't need it. Well, demonstrate to me you're going to be successful here, and then we'll talk about it. So, and I've also fought very hard not to let it become decentralized and subject specific. I understand the advantage and the need for that, and been approached a couple different times, but we've managed to convince them that they just need their own exploratory course. So go build the science survey course, right? Don't call it college success because you're spending 75% of your time just talking about science. That's not the same thing.
So Phyllis, what are you seeing, at least agenda-wise?
Agenda-wise, we need 20 minutes to get through our next part of the conversation on the Jamboard, so we can get a little bit more interactive. So do you have any last comments or thoughts for what we're sharing here, or I can throw it on over to Stephanie and get ready to pull the Jamboard up. And I need to first put the link in the chat so everybody can get to it on some device. But then I'll share the screen so we can all see together. All right, so while I'm doing, you can wrap up, Dr. Ed, if you want to, and I can shift while you're doing that.
While Frank was talking about that, it reminded me of a study I just read. I put a link in the chat that came from letgrow.org. If you have ideas that the group can help, maybe pass them along to Phyllis, and then we'll talk about those.
Looking for the link to the Jamboard.
Mm-hmm.
But this semester, I think certainly our outcomes are going to be lower than usual, and an amazing number of students who are unaware of all kinds of things that they come in and they expect, well, they missed this exam, but they had this reason, that reason, they think they're going to get a makeup, even though they've heard instructions about letting people know in advance, teacher know in advance, and other things, just completely out of the loop of it, what we would consider normal information for a student.
Yeah, it's not normal for them.
All right, I've got the Jamboard pulled up, so if we're ready to transition over to that. This has been an interesting conversation that we've kind of come back to for the last couple of meetings. We're trying to take the temperature on seeing, and I'm not sure if everything is showing up on mine, trying to see what practices were in place at which schools and who was involved in what initiatives, what was going on there. And so a lot of the things that we talked about in the last two meetings was looking at aligning the work that we're doing in our individual institutions with the different objectives as part of this Gateway course strategy. And so if you have the Jamboard pulled up, you can see the different colored stickies where people have noted that their institution is doing one or two different types of things here. There we go, looking at the objectives for the Gateway course strategy. So of the three objectives, the first one, which I think we're already doing today, so we can pat ourselves on the back, we've already started this work, but we certainly need to continue it and take it further, is strengthening the communication and collaboration among us as individual institutions and in conjunction with CPE. And so some of the different strategies that are suggested for that is to strengthen communication and collaboration by developing a dashboard. We've been very interested in disaggregated data for enrollment and success in Gateway courses. I know as it's December and final grades are rolling in, those of us who work with this data on a daily basis are hungry for it because we want to see if the interventions we put in place and the partnerships that we've developed have done what they're supposed to do. Of course, we know that data is only one part of the story, right? There's a narrative that goes with data, and that's what that second bullet point has to do with, which is the strategy of convening a community of practice, which we are in now, to see what the best practices are throughout the state and looking at successful strategies for how we design and deliver both the Gateway course in conjunction with the co-requisite support. The big one that we have really sort of focused on and decided that is a true action item is talking about the way that we discuss and present the concept of Gateway courses. And I'm sure you all remember from your own education, I remember having this said to me, well, once you get your gen eds out of the way, then you get to move forward, right? It's this like a gate opens up and lets you into what you really came to college for. But first, there are these obstacles or burdens that you have to move past first. And what we really want to do is change that language. So our third bullet is to develop messaging for advisors and language they can use with students that not only emphasizes how important gateway courses are, but how they're relevant to their overall college program and to their future careers, and that their success in gateway courses equates to their success in college. So talking about that language has been on our minds these last couple of discussions. Has anybody worked with their advising team yet to do some of this? What's going on at your institutions where this is being addressed? It looks like Brooke has her hand up, but I can't see everybody.
Yeah, I think that it has to go beyond, though, the importance. What I have far too many examples of is individuals forcing their own fear of a discipline onto students. And so that has caused a lot of problems. And so all it does is plant one seed of, I was bad at this, and then they latch on and they're going to be bad at it too. And that's not doing anybody any favors.
And I would be willing to bet some of that is math, because math anxiety is real. And in a larger framework too, as we've talked about this, is growth mindset being incredibly important to the asset-based language that we use, the infusion of growth mindset principles into the gateway course. But absolutely, if an advisor has their own fear or prejudice against a discipline for whatever reason, that could influence the way they communicate. It looks like Bethany has her hand up.
I work really specifically with advising in my role here at EKU, and a couple of the things that we've done recently is we just brought up a new advising system, and so it's a little bit more centralized. We have, just like everybody else, I think, on the call, we have a mix of faculty and staff advisors, and just so many things have changed over the years. But I do think, especially in the quantitative reasoning, the math world, like having the language when you're talking to a student about specific skills that they are going to learn in this gateway math class that helps them go on to their passion a lot of times really helps them connect. Because I also agree with what Brooke said. Sometimes advisors are passing on their fear of certain things or saying, I don't use this in my daily life. And instead of kind of having a script of why is it important that you pass this algebra or this quantitative reasoning class to go on to your dosing class if you're going to nursing, or maybe there's a specific function you're going to use in construction management or trig. And I think some of that language, it helps validate that we're not just saying get through this class to go to this class.
I love that, Bethany. I think that there's the value in what you just said is that students need to see clearly what specific skills translate to what they want to take into the workforce or that they're going to need for their next level of coursework. And so it's not just the advisors that need that language, but faculty in the gateway courses need to also embrace that language and be deliberately emphasizing those particular skills as well. So if they're hearing it from as a united front, so to speak, well, my advisor said this would help with these skills for my dosing class, and then they're in the nursing class and they're like, you remember back in Math 150 when? So it looks like Erica has her hand up.
Sure. No, I really like what I'm hearing here. And I've probably said this to the group before, but my role in the maths department at UK, since I'm director of the service courses, which is like the 1 and 200 level courses. And one thing I started doing this when we were making a lot of changes to our program and changing our prerequisites or adding different pathways. I went to advisor meetings. So it started a lot during COVID, so they were more virtual, but since then I've gone to them in person. So as a math faculty member, I have met all over campus in different colleges, the advisors. And a lot of it, I'll do like a short presentation if they're requested, or sometimes it's just a Q&A about what courses we offer and different ways you can progress through them. And I'm liking what I'm hearing to like add to my arsenal of what language to use, because I have definitely picked up on that some advisors are very uncomfortable with math themselves. And are passing that along to the students they advise, whereas others are phenomenal and supportive and helpful. But anyway, so like those of you in math, like if you can get invited to advisor meetings, you can have this conversation directly. And if you're working with the advisors, like invite someone from the math department if you can figure out who would be most relevant, would be my suggestion there.
That's a great suggestion. And when we look at the Jamboard down at the bottom, you can see that circled part leads to the comprehensive advisor training. And so that's something that will be, I guess, baked into this Gateway Core strategy, is that as we're looking at ways to sort of reform this and improve our success across the state, we need to really just polish those relationships with advisors, and build a bridge between faculty and advisors when both exist in the same institution, to help promote that. Let's jump over to objective 2.
I have one thing.
Oh, go ahead. That sounds like Brenda.
Yes, I got back on. That's all good and said and done, but we have to remember, once they get in the course, when the reality hits, the subject matter is in their face and trying to do the math, then they get scared again. So it has to be a continuous reinforcement during the semester, because once they get reinforcement in the beginning, it's great, I'm going to do this. But once they get in that course, especially my college algebra class, the reality sets in, like, oh my God, I can't do this. So they need that reinforcement as you go on during the semester from the faculty member and maybe the advisor calling them up to check in and see how they're doing. So it has to be reinforced throughout the semester, not a one-time thing.
Absolutely. The responsibility falls on the Gateway course instructor as well to help the students understand why the class matters and why it's relevant. Absolutely. Thank you, Brenda. Swapping over to
Stephanie.
Yes.
Can I ask a quick question around how we want to secure the individual thoughts? The next couple of slides, I've broken it down so that you can just see the 3 bullets in objective 1.
Yeah.
And because of time, I want to see if, Frank, do you want to just see where everyone lands in terms of their priority? And then we continue this conversation in January. Because I don't want to, this is so good. I don't want to.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I think we can do that.
Okay.
Because I don't want to disrupt where we're at too. So
the flow and the thoughts and all of this is great. And I might be able to take some of this back. I mean, I think we're going to be able to do some things in the convening as well. So I might need all of you all to help make this what we're envisioning. Okay, so Stephanie, that said, do you want me to go ahead and go to the slides where we're just focused on each bullet in the objectives, or do you want to stay here? Because there might be some other things to kind of.
Yeah, just kind of looking at time. I think the biggest thing that we talked about last time was prioritizing student voices. So it may be worthwhile for us to move where we can get some individual feedback on that, because that was very difficult to do. The first objective with advisor language, everybody's on board with that. They're on board with faculty emphasizing that language themselves. But where we have struggled is to figure out how we're going to represent student voices. So I think we do need to collect information on that. So if we want to go to the interactive Jamboard, that would be great. So the second objective is to center students' needs, and the bullet that we have circled there, prioritize student voices in qualitative research on student success. And we have kind of been stumbling there. So it may be worthwhile to talk about why should this be a priority? How do you prioritize that? Do you think that's more important than the advisor messaging? Do you think that that's where this team needs to put their emphasis? Like, who's responsible for this and what can we do with it? So any feedback there, I think, is where we should go.
Yeah, when we talked about this last time, as you see, just even on the screen with the Post-its, it looked like all the institutions had some things going on in a lot of these buckets, but you notice there's hardly any around the student voices piece. So, this seemed to be a kind of a gap area that we maybe we're not collecting that, or maybe we're not, maybe there's more need in that area.
And maybe student voices is where, like, we look at it from a different perspective. Maybe it's not the student in the class's voice, but maybe it's the peer guide, peer mentor concept. And the student voices come from that direction. I mean, I think both are valuable. It's just I've from experience asking a student who's taking the course, they don't necessarily understand the implication quite yet. But after they've completed the course, then it tends to make a little bit more sense.
The one thing I've thought about that recently is that it's kind of changed in that regard. I think 10 years ago, 5 years ago, we could have asked questions and they would have understand where we were coming from and answered the questions we were asking. Now it's like we live in two different worlds and they won't understand what we mean by the questions because they're thinking of it in a different point, from a different point of view. They've been enculturated in a different crucible than we have, and we're asking them. We're coming at talking past each other because we don't know what the other one's asking or what the other one's saying.
Jeff, I see your hand too. And then let me mind, we have just about 5 minutes and I want John to ask a couple of questions around where do we go from here? What do we want to look like in the spring? He's gonna step in and kind of close us out with that. Okay, Jeff, your thought.
Yeah, I'll keep it real quick. I think we have to define what student success means here, because it's such a broad area. What we historically think of with student success, to both Ed and cautious points, is going to be vastly different from what a student necessarily prioritizes or thinks about. And we can't just look at traditional markers such as course grades, GPAs, retention rates, graduation rates. It's much more comprehensive than that. And it can be a one-off such as, oh my God, a staff member or a faculty member spent time trying to understand what's going on in a student's life that's limiting them from engaging in the first place. And it's cumulative from there. You're adding all these factors in. So I think we'd have to be really clear about what we mean here in order to ensure that the information we're collecting about student voices is appropriate and accurate.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This already sounds like a lot of the pre-work that we're going to be doing in the in-person convening. So, but just for the sake of having you understand where we are with the draft, that is getting ready to be turned into a document and made all pretty and all of that. So, our vice president, and we feel like Dr. Thompson is going to be, let's keep it as it is right now in terms of prioritize. We know we want to prioritize student voices in a qualitative research way. So just keeping it very general. And then when we figure out the tactics and all the things that go with each of these bullet points, that's when some of the other ideas that you all are sharing now can begin to emerge. I love all of this and everything that you're saying. Any other, Stephanie, did you see any other things that you wanted to hit on with this or with the others?
I think that as we move forward with this work, we're going to start to share more about what each institution has been doing. We've talked a lot about what student success is from our perspective, but we really have to come to an agreement about that. But I think my final comment about the 3 objectives would be, as we move forward in the work, we can't lose sight of having a unified front. Like, we have to have some agreement and some baseline amongst ourselves. And while it may not look exactly the same in every institution, we need to go for that common ground so that we can better share and implement things that are working. So all the comments so far have been excellent and have been some good food for thought about things that we need to do. But I think that big question is, what is student success, has got to be nailed down.
And did we need to take maybe 30 seconds to do anything with objective 3, or do we want to pick that up at our January meeting?
I think in the interest of time, we'll have to pick it up.
Okay. All right, great. So at this point, I think what I'll do, I'll come off share. And invite John to kind of wrap us up and to think a little bit more forward about where we're going.
Yeah, thanks, Phyllis. So, in the last conversation that we had as a small group of fellows, I kind of really wanted to dig more into the idea of like purpose and opportunity with this group. It feels like this fall we've used kind of your expertise to look around these objectives and this plan and get your feedback on that. And was thinking, all right, what can we do moving forward in the spring semester? How can we best leverage, your expertise, your experience, your ideas? What's out there? What opportunities are out there for this group to really make a difference, to really work on something that has meaning and something tangible to support student success? Are there things out there that are on your all's mind that this group could be doing or have conversations about?
Would like to reach out more to the online students, the non-traditional online students, keep them engaged. Doing more. I do more evening tutoring, evening office hours to meet their needs because they have they work full time, they have kids, they have family. So the online students sometimes don't have time to. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them. They miss tests. They have all kind of excuses. So I try to meet them where they are. Excuse my voice today. I try to meet them where they are and try to engage them after hours because I know that's when they can meet me better and I can best engage them and help them. So I think we need to discuss how to keep the online presence and keep the kids engaged online.
I think the online student is a huge part of the future of our work. Speaking on KCTCS, the numbers of students that are in online courses has grown exponentially since COVID. And this includes students that are brand new to college, straight out of high school, that are taking all their classes online. The profile of an online student is not, the adult person that's working 40 hours a week. It's including students that are, 18, 19 years old. They're also working, but they're different than what we may have thought of an online student. We really need to think about how we can support those students and help them be successful and what that online experience is like for them. So I think that's definitely a really good point, Brenda. I 100% agree.
One of the things I think that'll be helpful next year too, as we do have the, convening and just as some of the objectives and things kind of get flushed out underneath some of these goals we talked about today, that may identify some priority areas and some things that are of importance. And it may be good to go back through some of those too, to see if there's, one or two or certain areas we want to focus on, or if there's things that this group could have some really good insights to. I think I saw in the chat just now, there's a lot of great knowledge in this room. So, how do we use that to tackle some of these problems or think through common strategies that maybe are successful and how other schools might be able to adopt that. So what are some things that maybe we can do collectively that could help us move in that direction? But I agree online is a huge component. We're seeing that here too, where a higher percentage of students taking online credits, and some of it is also just due to changing in how we're delivering the courses to meet the demands of the community. So, we've seen a shift a lot in the course offerings themselves and also limited resources of faculty and things like that. So those things also drive it. We've had a lot of students who historically could have been traditional students, but now they have a mix of classes, both in person and online, because those are the only ways they can get all the courses in that they need. So, because that's all that's offered. So I think just kind of thinking through how do we still support despite changes in flexible options?
Yeah, and I think, Eric, I saw your comment in the chat. I don't think this is necessarily you have an idea and that becomes your idea, right? It's your project. I'm hoping this is really a conversation about what we could consider and think about, and possibly things that we could work on as, our team of fellows and CP as a whole. Like what's out there, challenges, opportunities, other opportunities for research or finding data that could help inform what we're trying to do. So I know we're running out of time. So if you have those ideas or you have thoughts or things that you feel like, is a missed opportunity, let us know. And we can see what we can do to start that conversation and see what opportunities are out there for it. And yeah, there's someone did make a note in the chat too that we are thinking about changing the name of this, and Phyllis can maybe talk a little bit more about kind of the rationale behind that too.
Yeah, we just need it to match the work. It used to be a work group, used to focus solely on co-requisite. Now we're speaking a little bit more broadly around gateway course success and all the elements of that. So, but we can discuss this again. We can just keep the conversations going in our January session, which we still need to have, even if it's a little bit shorter. But I just want to remind about the announcements on the front end for the student success summit. And but I have the convening on the mind as well. So I will let you all go. Please have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I know these are hot topics for all of us. So if something comes up, feel free to just scoot that over to me and I can, get it out to all of us, and or we can reply in the portal if you know how to get in the Impact Exchange and start a discussion there. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll stop the recording now and see everybody soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.